So once you've then reached your investment level, now when you do the financial coaching, you get a coach, and with your coach you will determine what income generating asset it is that you want to invest in and how much your investment level is. Your investment level is the amount of money you need in your free bucks account to make sure that you can make your first income generating asset investment. So if you are interested to find out more about our coaching program that teaches you practically how to implement these 5 steps, you get a coach that takes you by the hand and guides you through it. You are welcome to follow or go to our website retirehappy.co.za, and you can, on that page you will find a link to watch our webinar to see what the coaching is all about. And when you watch the webinar, you also qualify for a free coaching session with one of the coaches. You can sit with them for 45 minutes and they will help and guide you, give you some advice, and you can see if it's a good fit for you to help you get to retirement or financial retirement in 10 years. So we then move that income into, of that capital, into an income generating asset. So what is an income generating asset? An income generating asset is an asset that generates an income as a result of the asset, not what you do in the asset. So that doesn't mean that nobody needs to do anything in the asset, it just generates income. But you need to be as far removed from the actual doing of that business or that fixed asset as possible. So it's about generating income through the asset without your personal involvement as much as possible. So there's 3 types of income generating assets. The first one is what we call fixed assets. So that's the typical one that most people know, which is property is the most well known. So that could be commercial property, it can be residential property, it can be a rental property from what's this place where you rent out your like a bed and breakfast kind of thing. I forgot the name now. But you can rent out your property. You can rent out a part of your property. You can have a holiday home that you're renting out. So anything that is fixed, that's not going to move around, and there's different kinds of ways to invest in property. Now, if you look at a property, if you own a property and a person pays you rent, he pays you the rent whether you go to the property or not. You don't have to get up in the morning, go to the property at 8 o'clock, work in the property, and then get your salary at the end of the month. You get paid because of the property. And that's the definition of an income generating asset. You generate the income as a result of the asset, not what you do in the asset. So that's fixed assets. Now, there are hundreds of different ways to invest in fixed assets to generate income. We've been so taught to do it only one way, especially around about 2005, 2006. Everybody read books about property investment, and they just went because the banks were giving out bonds and property mortgages for like Smarties. You just walked into the bank to go deposit your paycheck, or you went in to open a savings account and they just issued you with a bond. Thanks Warren, Airbnb, that was the word I was looking for. So they just issued you with a bond and you could buy a house. So everybody bonded the properties, put tenants in, and then the crash happened in 2008 and people got badly hurt. So what then happened is there's so many people running around that says, I will never ever invest in property again. I got hurt, I almost lost everything because of my property investments. I will never invest in property again. My answer to them, or my question to them, is always, but how did you invest in property? Because if one way of investing in property didn't work for you, you can't chuck out the whole system of property investment because of one way, because there's hundreds of ways of investing in property. So it's important to invest in the right way. Now, the key when you want to invest in an income generating asset is a couple of things. The first thing is you want to invest in an income generating asset that gives you a positive cash flow, preferably immediately or as soon as possible. The mistake most people made when they invested in property They invested in property, and the property cost them more than what it was generating as an income. So they took out a bond with the rates and the levies and the insurance. The property cost them 7,000 Rand a month, and they rented it out for 5 or 5.5. So they were in the hole for 1,500 Rand a month. And then they were told, yeah, but you will reach break even in 3 or 4 years. So you are actually still investing to build this asset. The problem with that system, though, is you never build momentum. You are actually slowing your momentum, and we'll get to the generational wealth spiral now. You don't want to invest in something that halts your momentum, that slows it down. You want to invest in something that gives you a positive cash flow as quickly as possible, preferably immediately. And you want something that generates income for you as regularly as possible, preferably every month, at most every quarter, but not longer than that. Because otherwise your money cannot build another capital asset if it's not coming in regularly. So if you have an investment that only pays dividends once a year, that might not be the ideal income generating asset. You want to invest in an asset that gives you income, preferably every month, but at least every quarter, so that that money can start building momentum again. So the first one, that is fixed assets. The second type of investment that is an income generating asset could be a movable asset. A movable asset is any asset that you can rent out on a long term or a shorter term period that can move around. So here you have things like earth moving equipment, trailers, vehicles, long term car rental, anything like that that you can rent out that generates income that can move. So that is movable assets. And then the third kind of income generating assets is, again, business assets. So you'll see this ties us back to asset number one, which is a business asset. Again, a business asset is only an asset once it generates income through leverage. It's no use you running 10 different businesses and you slice yourself up in 10 smaller and smaller pieces, trying to be involved in every single business. That is not what you want. You want to build businesses that generate income through the leverage, through the effort of other people. Now you can do that by investing in startup businesses or investing in existing businesses that already have an infrastructure where you do not have to go and reinvent the wheel. Again, the same rules apply. You want to get income as soon as possible after your investment is made, and you want to get income as regularly as possible, preferably every quarter or every month at least. So those are business assets. Once you have built your first business asset, the positive cash flow, or the first income generating assets for that matter, the profit that gets generated is also defined as freedom income. So that profit that you make from that income generating asset doesn't go into your lifestyle account. It doesn't improve your lifestyle. It goes into your free bucks account because it is defined as freedom. It is there to build momentum. And that is what we then create, is a generational wealth spiral. So how does a generational wealth spiral get created? It starts with freedom income. Now, like I explained, a freedom income can be one of three things. It can be income that is released because you've taken better control of your cash flow, or you've paid off unnecessary debt, or you've reduced your expenses. That income that you now have extra every month gets defined as a freedom income, and it goes into your free bucks account. It can be income from a business asset. A business asset is an asset that generates income through leverage. That can be defined as freedom income. Or it can be from a fixed asset or a movable asset, and that can be defined as freedom income. All of that income then goes back into your free bucks account to create another capital asset. Once your capital asset reaches your investment level again, you move it into another income generating asset. That income generating asset creates another freedom income, which then gets you to investment level quicker this time because you now have an extra income stream. And then you just wash, rinse, repeat. Freedom income creates capital asset. Capital assets creates income generating asset, which creates more freedom income, which creates another capital asset, which creates another income generating asset, which creates more freedom income. And you create a generational wealth spiral. So one thing we've been taught from school, and one of the things I was taught when I walked into the financial services industry 22 odd years ago, is the power of compounding interest. They call it the eighth wonder of the world. And it's about getting interest on interest on interest. And if you start, and that's why it's so important when you do start saving in the traditional way of saving for your retirement in a retirement annuity or a pension fund, that you do it as early as possible. Because you don't lose the interest in the beginning, you lose the interest at the end. So if you wait a year, it's not the beginning that you're losing out on. You're losing on the interest that you're getting on all the millions that you've saved up at the end of the term, because you've got a year left. But compound interest is like adding. So if you want to count to 100 in twos and you add 2 plus 2 becomes 4, plus 2 becomes 6, plus 2 becomes 8, plus 2 becomes 10. What we want to build through the generational wealth spiral, and that is why you can do what most people can't do in 40 years, you can do in 10 years. Because what we create is not compound interest. We are creating compound income. Income creating assets, creating more income, creating more assets, creating more income. And that then takes it from adding to multiplying. So if you want to count to 100 in twos and you multiply instead of add, 2 times 2 becomes 4, times 2 becomes 8, times 2 becomes 16, 32, 64, 128. So you get to 100 so much faster with compounding income than you would with compounding interest, which would be 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. So what we are creating through this generational wealth spiral is compounding income, and that will get you to financial retirement. So once your assets, the freedom income that you are creating from your assets, are equal or more than your lifestyle income every month, you are free. That is what we call the breakout point. That is what we call financial retirement. Because at that point, you do not need your salary or your lifestyle income to fund your lifestyle anymore. You can use your assets to fund your lifestyle. That doesn't mean that we say you're going to stop working at that point. We're saying that now you can work because you want to work, not because you have to work. And that is our definition of retirement. Our definition of retirement is not the day you stop working. We don't want to get people at age 45 to go lie on a beach, do nothing for the rest of their life. That is not life. You still want to contribute, and we'll talk about that in our next part, the pay it forward part. But what we want to do is give people the freedom to do with their lives what they're really passionate about. So once you get to the breakout point, you can decide if the job or the career that you are in is what you are passionate about. Is this what you want to do with the rest of your life? And once you have the freedom to make that choice, you will become more successful at what you do because you're then doing it for the right reasons. Currently, most people are doing what they're doing because they need the paycheck. They're not doing it because they're passionate about it. They're not doing it because it's their gift that they've received and their talent. They're doing it because they just need to get paid. Once we change that, people can start living their passion. And once you start living your passion, you'll be much happier, you'll be much more successful, and you'll probably build even more wealth than you have up to that point.